you doing, buddy?
Good. I'm doing a school project. Right now I'm going to interview you about some stuff.
Okay.
Where does your family come from?
They came, my father's side came from Switzerland and Germany. And my mother's side came from Scotland.
Awesome. Tell me about the town you lived in when you were a kid.
About the what?
Tell me the town you lived in when you were a kid.
Oh, my town that I lived in when I was a kid, there
Yes.
were 1,000, it was a farming town, and there were 1,000 people approximately in the town. And at the time that I grew up, we had many turkey farms around and a lot of dairy and beef cattle being grown or raised. And then the town was basically everything that went on in the town was basically to support the farmers around the town. Like you had a grain elevator where the farmers could bring their grain. The farm implement dealers that sold tractors and farm equipment to the farmers, and then obviously, the little grocery store and the car dealer. We had 2 car dealers and two banks. But most of the people were either farmers or involved in businesses that supported the farmers.
What did you do when you were a kid?
What did I do when I was a kid? I played outside from breakfast, came in for lunch, went back outside and played until dinner, and then went back outside and played until dark.
What'd you play?
I had a baseball field that I built in the pasture field where the cows were. I put a fence around it, and we played baseball and softball and football. We went exploring in my dad's woods, like a forest, small forest. We would explore and build camps and climb trees. Then I also had a lot of chores to do on the farm. I helped my dad feed and water the turkeys. I helped him catch the turkeys to send off to market. And I did a lot of driving of the tractors. I lived with my grandpa, and he raised hogs, pigs, and so I would help him. In fact, he gave me a female pig, and it was named Arnelda after Arnold the pig on Green Acres. I don't know if you know what that is, but that's an old television show that was funny. And I would feed my pigs every day and take care of them and clean out the stalls from manure. Fed the cows hay in the wintertime when they were in the barn, not out on pasture. And what else did I do? I had 2 neighbors that I played with a lot, and we visited our family. My dad was one of 7 children, so we would usually on Sunday go and visit one of his brothers or sisters, and we would take rides. My mom loved to take Sunday afternoon rides in the car with no particular place to go, and we would just end up someplace and have a lot of fun. I used to go to Ohio State football games with my dad in Columbus. He took me to my first game when I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I was hooked on the Buckeyes from then on. Are you recording this, Reed?
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to think of what else I could tell you that would be interesting. My grandpa was kind of a tinker. My grandpa drilled water wells for people who were building their houses.
That's awesome.
And he would drill water wells, and I would sometimes go with him. He would let me drive his pickup truck when I was about 10 years old. I would sit on the seat, and he would sit right next to me on the truck. In those days, you just had one big bench across the front of the pickup truck, so he could sit next to me and shift the gears while I drove when I was about 10, 11 years old, that age. And we were driving to various places where he had water wells being drilled. And my mom was a great cook, so we had a lot of what we called comfort food, big heavy meals of beef and potatoes. We always had a great big breakfast in the morning with eggs and bacon or eggs and ham. And then for lunch we would have beef of some kind, or chicken, or turkey, or like I said, ham. And then for dinner we would do the same thing. We always had dessert for lunch. We always had the dessert for dinner. Every Wednesday night we would play euchre, cards, with my grandpa and my mom and dad. And watched a lot of TV. Back in those days, we only got 3 channels: ABC, NBC, and CBS. That was it. There was no ESPN. There were no video games. There were no computers. Listened to the radio a lot. The television, when I was your age, was mostly, a little bit younger than you, was mostly black and white. There weren't any real colored channels, color shows, until I was about 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old. And then old Western shows that I liked started broadcasting in color. And so that was, and I watched a lot of cartoons. I'd come home from school and watch cartoons after school for a little bit until my dad came down and said I needed to get to work. Played a lot of basketball in my basement. My dad put up a basketball hoop in my basement, just like the one that you've got in your playroom. And I would pretend, since I was an only child, I would pretend that I was playing on the Ohio State Buckeyes basketball team, and of course we would always win. I would make the last shot right at the final second to win the game. And I was an only child, so I had to entertain myself a lot. Read. I mean, I read a lot of books. I used to love to read the World Book Encyclopedia. I would get one World Book. You probably don't know what that is. Encyclopedia was kind of like the early form of Wikipedia or Google, where you look things up. But everything was in alphabetical order. So if I wanted to read about the Civil War, I would go get the C encyclopedia, and I would read about the Civil War. Or if I wanted to read about World War II, I would get the W encyclopedia and read about World War II. Was fascinated by maps. I used to love to look at maps of Ohio and of the United States and of the world. So I kind of taught myself where the states and the countries were located. Listen to records on my record player. It was just a little, I don't know if you've ever seen those, but they're coming back in style now.
Yeah.
They're called, the vinyls.
The one you place the disc on it, like that little metal thing kind of goes, it makes it in a circle. Like it plays it.
Yes.
Okay. That's awesome.
It shows that little insert that you put in the 45 records. I brought it along, but I didn't wear it. Used to listen to a lot of records. My favorite group at the time was the Beatles. They came to America in 1964, and they had hair about as long as yours. And my dad thought it was the end of the world because no one ever grew their hair that long. So he thought it was going to be the end of the world as we know it. But I listened, and every Sunday night we would watch the Ed Sullivan Show. It was called a variety show, and one night he had the Beatles on, and the place went crazy. Girls were screaming and crying. time we'd play softball, or the older men would pitch horseshoes. You know what a horseshoe is?
Yeah, the thing you throw and you try to stick it in like a little pole.
Yes, yes. My dad loved. In fact, we had a horseshoe pit in our backyard that my dad made, and whenever his buddies would come, they'd pitch horseshoes. I had a big sand pile, a big sandbox underneath a pine tree that we would play with our trucks and tractors. And your Uncle Greg did the same thing later on when he was your age at our house in Ashland. We did a lot of playing with trucks. We rode our bicycles a lot. And in those days, nobody was really afraid of us being out on our own, so we would ride our bikes into Danville. I was about a mile outside of Danville, but I even rode my bike to one of my best buddies' house one time. He lived about 5 miles away on the other side of town, and then we would ride bikes or play in his barn. We made hay tunnels in my barn, my dad's barn, and we would make as dark as we possibly could, and that was always fun. Going through a maze, if you've ever gone through any mazes, it was like going through a maze.
You got a maze of hay bales?
Yeah, we had a maze made out of hay bales up in the hay mow in our barn, and we had a ton of fun up there. I helped my dad clean out the turkey buildings a lot, and we would haul the turkey manure out onto the field and spread it out so that the corn and the wheat, the grain would grow as like fertilizer.
Yeah.
And I learned to drive on a 1950 Ford tractor when I was about 7 years old. And Grandpa taught me how to drive his old pickup truck. And I used to go water the turkeys when I was 12 years old. We had a bigger truck that I would water the turkeys in. And the part that I hated the worst was sometimes some of the turkeys would be dead, and I'd have to pick them up and throw them on the truck, and then toss them in the dead pit. Every now and then some would get sick and die, and so it was my job to make sure that they didn't lay out in the field and start stinking the whole place up. I had a pony that I rode sometimes out in the pasture field. The guy that ran the car dealership needed to have some ponies put out on pasture, so he let my dad keep them out there, and I had a favorite. It was named Sparkle, and I had a saddle for it, and I would ride the pony around the farm. That's about it.
That was awesome. Thank you, Poppy. Thank you.
Do you have other questions?
Sorry?
Do you have other questions?
Yes. What was life like with no internet and no smartphones?
Well, we had to read, or if we wanted to find out something, we had to go to the library. You had to go to the library and find a book on like if I was your age doing a report, or like Trippy, doing a report on Tallahassee, Florida,
Yeah.
I couldn't look it up on the internet. I had to go and find books. First thing I would do is I would read about that in my World Book Encyclopedia, but sometimes teachers wanted more than just one source for the information, so I would have to go to the library about 12 miles away, and then finally we got a library in Danville, but I usually went to our school's library in Danville, and I would have to get pull 2 or 3 other books on the subject and read those, and then take notes and write a report. And the only news that I ever got, the only news that anyone, now today we have Fox News and MSNBC that are on 24 hours a day, every day.
Yeah.
Back then our news came on at 6 o'clock at night, which was our local news. That would be the only channels that we could read out at our home. We didn't have cable, so we had an antenna put up on top of our house, and we could pick up Columbus channels, which was the state capital. That's where Ohio State is. And from 6 to 6:30, they would have Ohio news on, Columbus and Ohio. And then at 6:30, it would be the national news, and it was usually either Walter Cronkite or David Brinkley or Chet Huntley, and we would watch the news from 6:30 to 7, and that was it. That's the only news we got other than the newspaper. And they would also have the news on at 11 o'clock at night, but I could never stay up that late. I was always in bed by 9 o'clock when I was your age and 10 o'clock when I got into high school.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Poppy.
You're welcome. Do you want to talk to Grandma or?